Hi, everyone. I'm popping on here. It wasn't the plan as usual, but I just keep going back to anxiety a lot. I keep hearing this a lot about my child is afraid to get on the bus. My child is feeling anxious about going to school, but they made a decision to do this, and this is where they need to go. Or we made this decision together, and there's just a lot of anxiety, anxiety, anxiety. I keep hearing this. So I thought, okay, let's talk about anxiety, right? Because it's kind of an epidemic. I was looking up the numbers, and I wrote here on my post that the number of children in the US, 5 and under, that are on anti anxiety meds um, is in the amount of 143,692. I don't know, give or take a few numbers, I guess, but whew, that's a lot of kids in the US under the age of 5, like or 5 and under. And I get it, I get it. People are saying, but my child feels anxious. My teachers are saying, but the students, we wanna fix it. We want to make it better. I get it. I really, really do. Yeah, hi everybody. I was in my zone. I didn't notice everybody on here. Thank you for coming. I feel anxiety too. I don't think there is a person on the planet who doesn't have a moment or who hasn't had a moment of feeling anxiety. Um, you know, we ha- I have my own personal opinions on it, and I don't want to really get into that. I'm just feeling really, really strongly that I'm not judging anyone. I'm not judging parents, teachers, doctors. I get it. I understand. I've been a teacher, and I'm also a parent, and I've had anxiety. I get it. I've even experienced taking anti-anxiety drugs for 3 days as an adult, as a grown-up, and yeah, I felt happy the first day I took it, and was like, wow, this is what this feels like when you're on anti-anxiety. I was so happy. By the second day, I was in physical pain, so I got off them right away. So that's my experience. Everyone's going to experience it differently. Perhaps it's helpful for some, but my idea is let's forge a new way. Let's forge a new direction. Yeah, the essential oils. That's what I've used. Yeah, in my classroom and with my daughter and in my home and for myself. I also use meditation. Obviously, that's what I have used with children as well. Um, but let's just kind of even go deeper than that. Like, let's kind of, where's the anxiety coming from? Because we have super sensitive kids, whether we know it or not. um, Kids are sensitive, adults are sensitive, and the more I am in the classroom and working with children outside of the classroom, the more I'm with my daughter's friends, the more I'm noticing there are more and more and more sensitive kids. I don't know. That's just what I'm noticing. And if that's the case, then it is really important for us to forge a new direction. That's just my profound personal opinion. Um, because if we choose to ignore it, it isn't going to go away. It's going to be that way. It isn't going to go away. It's not, unless we either perceive things differently and go into a way of changing our thoughts and the way we perceive things, and as well as our children, and it's a whole mind shift thing. It's big. But until then, where does the anxiety come from? Because we got to start at the beginning. And really, let's think about thoughts and feelings. So there's anxiety, and under anxiety, there's usually this feeling of I'm not doing something right. So there's a not pleasing someone, or not feeling worthy, or maybe there's even fear, right? Because doesn't that sound like fear? If I'm not pleasing someone, if I'm not doing it right, there's fear, right? So then if there's fear, what's under fear? Usually frustration, anger. I mean, I'm just kind of dissecting this. Chime in if you guys have any ideas or thoughts with this, because there's just way too much anxiety out there. And our children are a precious love of our lives. And I know moms and dads and teachers and everybody, they just want to do what's best for the love of their lives. I get it. I totally get it. Yeah. So if the bottom line is fear, and then under fear is anger and frustration and all, or maybe the other way around, I kind of think they all go hand in hand. That's where we need to start. Why is there fear? Fear of what? And where did that come from? Right? Right? It could be a whole slew of things. So if we have children, for example, who are really sensitive to noise, and there's countless children in the world that are sensitive to noise. I mean, adults, right? They call them HSPs, highly sensitive people, right? That's me, my daughter, and lots of children that I know. And we have learned how to work through that. But my goodness gracious, I'm like talking too fast. My goodness gracious, taking something may not be the answer. I'm just suggesting forge a new direction. So if the fear is, okay, the fire alarm's gonna go off in school today, and they know about it, they're still gonna feel that in their system, that anxiety, even if they know about it. So this is where I feel so strongly about mindfulness and meditation. And if that's not an option, okay, then just mindful moments, or just, it is an option, because it's not a spiritual thing. It can be, but it doesn't have to be. We are feeling beings, and so are our kids. And there's so many ways to guide our children in a direction where they can own their moments and feel so empowered to know. Yes, Tracy, I totally agree. Where they can own their moments to know, I have control. This is our children. I have control over my thoughts. I have control over how I feel. And there are lots of strategies and ways to get there. Essential oils is one of them, for sure. Thanks, Tracy. Yeah, meditation is another way. Visualizations, if you want to call it that, that's another way. Connecting to your inner source, that's another way. Turning into the dial of your frequency of who you are by having a mindful moment, right? And maybe doing Qigong or yoga. I mean, there's a million ways. I know that there are a lot of schools really working on this and bringing this in, and I know that there are a lot that are not. But I'm just saying, I feel so passionate about this because I have experienced this time and time again, and I just want to share that it doesn't have to be true. And as long as we continue to believe and dip ourselves into, yeah, my child's anxious, my child is anxious, my child is anxious, or as teachers, this child is anxious, that will be the belief that they carry around with them. I'm an anxious child. And so, and I mean no disrespect, because I get it. I really do. I really understand. Our job as parents and teachers are to show our children, or grandparents or fathers or whatever we are, brothers, cousins, it is to show our children that they truly do have the power in this. They really do, and empower them. That how do they do that? Well, we show them. So as parents and teachers, we need to learn first. Okay, and we've all felt anxiety, right? All of you have had anxiety at some point. Yeah. And so how did you deal with that? Sometimes I didn't deal with it so well. And sometimes I cried, and sometimes I got angry and yelled, and it's all the bottom line. It starts with fear, or not feeling understood, or not feeling worthy, not being clear on what to do. All of those things. Hi, hi, Christy. So we have to start somewhere. We have to start there and explain to our children that, you know what, I'm like that too. And these are the tools that I use. What about you? Do you have any ideas? I mean, art, painting, drawing, a peace corner in the classroom or in the home. My daughter had forts everywhere in our house. And I was like, a fort? I never had a fort, right? She taught me that that was so incredibly important for her sensitivity needs. And I never said she was a highly sensitive kid, but she had needs, and she knew, and she would create these forts, and she would hang out in them a lot. And so I would climb in there with her because that was her need. And so what was one of her strategies at school? She actually created a fort to work in. This was in first grade. It took a little prodding with the teacher, but eventually they saw that that was really beneficial to her. And some of the other kids also needed the same. And so it worked out and it was really helpful. And she didn't use it forever. It was just during moments of transition and fire alarms and lots of noise. She would kind of just go in that little space and that's where she would work. And it wasn't a big, huge fort. It was just a little space. And, you know, we have to help our kids with anxiety because we do. You know, they need tools to grow up into the world and through their life empowered. And I know that bringing mindful moments to my classroom and meditation was powerful. Taking mindful moments throughout the day, powerful. I used the chime, and that's what we did. Let's see, I want to read a little bit here. Christy, me and my daughter were just having this conversation. Oh, yay. I keep having it constantly. We have so many tools. Oh, yay. I'm so glad to hear that. You know, and there are people who really aren't sure. They just really aren't sure. And that's okay. That's where, you know, you might pick up a book, or you might hire someone like me, or you might talk to a friend, and the book might not work for your kid, right? It works for others, not others. Like Christy, you have strategies that work for you and your daughter, and I have strategies that work for my daughter, but they don't work for everyone. So there needs to be all kinds of different options, and tailor them. Like my suggestion, if you get an app or you get a meditation online, tailor it, change it to make it work for you. You use it first, then show your child, work on it with them, see what words work with them, ask them, how can we change it so it works best for you? Because it's not going to work for everyone. This is not a cookie cutter life anymore. I don't think it ever was. And that's always been my thing. Like, you can't take a kid who is round, put them in a square peg. You can't take a kid who is square and put them in a round peg. We are all different. We have to have our freedom to be who we are. Absolutely. And that means teachers have to have a whole bunch of, you know, openness to this, because it's not really about giving them stickers and charts to put them in the box, everybody doing the same thing at the same time. You can do that. And yeah, I mean, it works for the moment, but for the big picture, for the long run, how much service are we helping these children with when we're doing that? I just have to say that, because I've been a teacher for forever, for over 22 years. And I worked in all age groups. And, you know, when I first started teaching, that was what I knew. That's what you're taught, right? You use behavioral charts. And I did the ticket thing. I would give them a ticket. Oh, thank you so much for, you know, standing in line quietly. Look at you. You're on target, whatever. I don't remember what I used to say, but I would give them tickets. And then they would go in the sparkle box. And then I would pull the ticket out. And do you think this didn't cause anxiety for some kids? Absolutely it did. So I just induced anxiety in the environment of my classroom 22 years ago, or whatever it was, 23 years ago. Right? I'm not going to judge myself and be upset with myself, because it's all that I knew in that moment. But as I progressed and realized that didn't feel good when I saw children's faces, I threw that out and I started asking them, what can we do in our classroom that will be successful for all of us so we all feel good as much as possible? And so I started having conversations with children, and I started really literally taking notes. And I did this for many years. And I would bring in what they asked. My suggestion at home, and as a teacher, do that. I ask my daughter, this isn't working for me. You know, do you have any ideas? Sometimes she says, I have no idea. I'm like, okay, how about this? What do you think about that? Like, let's see, I'm giving an example. So getting out the door for school, right? Kids are slow. We got to get out. It can induce anxiety like that. Forget it. It's crazy. So I have felt anxiety. I got to be at work on time. I have a responsibility to be there. Then my daughter starts feeling anxiety because, oh my God, my mom's hurting me. That's not her thing to be rushed. I don't like it either. But this is what I've done to Kay. I would sit down with her, usually at dinner or right after dinner, a place where we're both feeling open and relaxed. And this is how I approach this. I explain to her what I need. I say, this isn't working for me, rushing out the door, me having to tell you to hurry, and I imagine it might not feel very good to you too. Are you willing to talk about this now? She usually says yes. Sometimes she doesn't, but most often she's like, cool. So then I offer her to share. How do you feel about that? And she usually agrees because we know how our kids feel, right? And then she usually wants to say, I'm sorry. And then I tell her, you know what? That this isn't blame. This is none of that. This is about how can we work this out so that it's a win-win for both of us, because I don't want you to feel that way. I don't want to feel that way. We want to start our day in joy, like just like we feel when we get up and we get centered, and then we want to hold that. So then we come up with strategies and ideas. Usually I throw one out first, and then she comes up with another. And so she came up with the idea, of course, to set her alarm on a louder volume so that she's up on time. But I suggested that as I start walking downstairs, I'll check on her. And so that works. And she gets down here on time. She did today, and we had to leave really early. And she was doing that at the end of last year too. And it just and getting prepared a little bit before bed, like setting some things out. So that was her idea, setting out what she needed to do in the morning and having it ready. That wasn't my suggestion. So I'm just saying, do this in the classroom too. There's got to be another way. Maybe people believe anxiety is a medical condition. Okay. I personally don't take that opinion, but if a parent does and they want my help, I am there for you. Maybe it is a medical condition. Maybe there's something I don't understand. I'm not judging anything. I am just saying that our children deserve and are here to show us, not even deserve, our children are here to show us what is needed for a future that is better than what we have right now. An empowered future for our kids to grow up and be who they were meant to be and who they're meant to grow up into, who they're meant to be right now, and speak from their truth without fear of not pleasing someone, without fear of having to do it right. Because what does that mean? If we do everything perfectly well, and that doesn't even happen, when we make mistakes, we grow. I don't even like that word, mistakes. When we do something and hi, Don, and something doesn't go exactly the way we planned, is that okay? Absolutely. Because then we learn something new and we can go in a different direction, or start something else, or continue making some kind of switch. There's just so much pressure. And thank you for Christy for saying that. I'm not in the classroom currently. I'm doing some new things, and I actually have a program for training for teachers now, and I am a intuitive transformational coach for parents and children. So that's what I'm doing now. I facilitate some empowerment groups with a friend of mine and an after school program. So this is my new path because I just felt fully heart-centered approach to that. Like my heart said, go. So that's what I'm doing. And it's a lot of fun. Our children are our greatest teachers. Absolutely, Chrissy, I can't agree more. They absolutely are. My daughter has taught me countless things. I could write a book on just that. I bet you could too. Yeah, I feel like the pressure, can we just talk about that for a minute? I know what the states, I've been in the educational system long enough to know how it goes. I remember the day when a president, I don't even know if it's legal for me to say, this was, let's see how many years ago. This was 16 years ago, maybe. A president was in the area of where I was living, and the governor was his brother. So there's some information. And the governor came to our school. I remember that day, and he walked into the cafeteria when all the kids were eating lunch. And it was when No Child Left Behind started. That gives you some info. And all the teachers were super duper excited and going up to talk to him. And I remember standing with a few of us in the back of the cafeteria. And I never got into politics. I don't really pay attention, but I did hear about the No Child Left Behind because I was doing a lot of work being a trainer on subject areas with children and how to reach all the children in different ways instead of just one cookie cutter way. And I sat there listening to this man speak to all these children, and I felt how, I don't want to say inauthentic, what did I feel? Let's see, a lack of understanding, that's the word, a lack of understanding, because these children are happy in the cafeteria. Ask them some real questions. Ask them what they feel like when they feel like they didn't do well on a math test, or ask them what it's like when they feel bullied in middle school or whatever happens in high school. Ask them if they feel anxious because they don't feel like they have any friends on the playground. I mean, there's a million questions, and that wasn't it. It was just high fives and, hey, I'm cool and great. However, the pressure that was trickled down from the changes, trickled down into the administration, trickled down into the teachers, and then trickles down into the kids and the parents. There's just no way for it to stop. It's an energy exchange. So what do? We come with a different perspective. We show our children how to perceive each moment of our lives in a different way, because they can, and they will do this. And we provide a space to listen to them, share with them, and hear what they have to say, and to own their own learning, to own their own experience, and show them how to do that, because they can and they want to. And the reason why sometimes I feel anxiety pops up a lot is because they're not given that opportunity. They just have to come in, sit down, do what they're asked, or even if it's a fun classroom, they still have to follow the rules that were given to them. Even if they are asked to create the rules together, there's still this overlying rule of the school, an expectation of being a certain way, and then a misunderstanding when confrontation arises. Instead of realizing these are just littler versions of me, period. Do I want someone to talk to me like, well, I just told you to do that? Or, do I want that? No, I don't want that. I don't want that. Neither do they. They just want to be understood. They want to feel like they belong, and what they have to say is valued, and how they feel is valued. And I know teachers love their children. I'm not saying that they don't. And I know that as parents, we love our kids. I know this. Just awareness to how because every thought, every feeling, every knowing that we have really does create what we experience. It really does. It really, really does. Yeah, let me read some of these comments. I'm so excited. You guys are so fabulous. I love you. I ended up taking my kids out of public school, and they are, yes. I mean, yay. No, I just, if I could have homeschooled my daughter, I would have. But now, going through the empowered approach with her, she rocks it out. And she's in a school that is project-based, and she's really independent. She speaks up, and so she's got it. But yeah, awesome. Nice, Christy. Laura, hi, Laura. My son has the worst anxiety in the mornings. I'll come back to watch this. Oh, you're welcome. And yes. Yeah, here, I'll even tell you a personal story. I sometimes wonder if I should share these things, but I'm going to, so that you can know I'm not full of baloney here. I was 7 years old in second grade, moving to Florida from New York City with my family. I had anxiety through the roof about school. The reason that, as a 7-year-old, the reason was I didn't feel safe there. It didn't feel good to me. That's what I used to say. And when I feel back to that, and I remember back to that moment, it didn't feel good to me. It was a very traditional public school. I'm 49 years old, so it was a long time ago. And so when first day of school in second grade in a public school, I did not want to go in. And very strong-willed, sensitive, connected, feeling person, I stood. You couldn't convince me to go in the classroom. So the teacher proceeded to grab my hand and pull me in. And I screamed and pulled back. And my mom was like, what just happened? So my mom, got down to my level and was talking to me, and I just started crying. Like, I'm not going in there, I'm not going in there. She took me home, right? She didn't talk about it the whole day. My dad comes home, nobody talks to me about it. I'm like, oh, I didn't know what to do. Now, that's not their fault. They're just doing what they know how to do. It's not the teacher's fault. She was only doing what she knew how to do. I didn't know what to do, right? I was 7, I didn't know. Next day, I'm like, oh my God, like, here we go. I didn't want to go. I didn't want to go. And I didn't want to go. And I just wanted to not feel that way. And nobody knew what to do. Walking down that hallway felt like 8,000 miles long. So I can relate to what goes on with the children who've been in my classroom. And I've had children do this exact thing that I did. So this is what happened. Finally at the door, the teacher takes my hand and just quickly walks me into the classroom. I don't even get to say goodbye to my mom. I'm screaming, they're holding me back. I'm reaching for my mom, I'm crying. The whole classroom is watching. It was just the worst experience ever. And that happened every day, most of 2nd grade. My mom would try to talk to me. I didn't want to talk to her. I was so confused, so lost. You know, we're going to go to the doctor. We're not going to the doctor. Like, I was just super, super strong-willed and sensitive. And all I wanted was to have someone to understand. Okay. 3rd grade, I had a teacher who was a lot more understanding. I didn't react that way. And I'm not saying that we're horrible teachers. My 2nd grade teacher wasn't horrible. For whatever reason, it didn't feel good to me. I don't know the reason. But maybe at 7 years old, in that moment, I would have been able to tell them something. I don't know. If I had the tools that I have now, I would have been able to ask my heart, and my heart would have known. I would have gotten something. But I didn't know, you know. So, but I strongly believe that the reason that happened to me is so that I can relate to the children now that I work with. And so I've had them in my classroom many times, and I could relate. So I knew exactly how to reach them and approach them. And it was not to drag them in the classroom. And these were children who felt anxious about a lot of things, like test scores, or working in groups, or standing up in front of the classroom, or playing sports. And there's just a number of things, even being first in line. Maybe they didn't even like that. Like, there were so many reasons for anxiety for them. And they deserved to be valued and heard and listened to. And not by, you don't have to go to a counselor and do all of that, just by you know, by their teacher, by their parents, and then by themselves, and to honor that. You know, one of the tools that I use with them now is that they talk to anxiety. And they ask you to take a seat, and they ask you to separate from them. They kind of like figure out where it comes from. And then we go from there on another meditation and other tools and other things that we can do. But talking to your feelings and because those are parts of you. And I'm not saying own it and think about it. That's not what I'm saying. Take 2 minutes, talk to it, ask it to take a seat, and it will tell you something. Yes, Christy, exactly. Yeah, a lot of kids don't. You know, just recently heard a high schooler who moved to another high school, and he said, I don't like school. I kept, hi, how are you? I was introduced to this kid, and we were talking. He just kept saying over and over, I don't like school. I don't like school. I don't. So that's his like thought. I don't like school. I don't like school. I don't like school. I don't like school. I don't. And I was like, whoa. So I said, maybe, kind of just put that on hold for a bit, and kind of maybe take the idea of this is a new school, new experience. Maybe I'll like school. It's a new experience. Maybe I'll like school now. It'll be different. Maybe it'll be different. Maybe I'll like it. Like, try that new thought on, And he looked at me kind of funny. And then he smirked and he said, no, maybe. But at least I planted that little thought in his head, a little seed to feel it differently, because I don't like school. I don't like school. I don't like school. Feels bleh. But maybe I'll like it. Maybe it feels better, right? And then other tools can help, because where does that come from for a kid who's in high school? Where did that belief, I don't like school, where did that thought, where did those feelings come from? It's unique to him. Yeah. Oh, thanks, Christy. Thanks for coming. So I just wanted to talk about anxiety for a minute. And I appreciate those who were here, and thank you so much for sharing. And it's been a lot of fun. I genuinely am grateful to be here. And if you are interested in reading more, finding out more about me, reading my story, and just talking to me, my actual, I'm going to put it in here. My website is achildslight.live or .live. People call it different things, which is kind of cool. It's fun doing this work because it makes a difference and I love it. Hope that it's been helpful, and this has been so wonderful to let this out because it's been kind of bubbling in me and I wanted to share it with everybody. And yeah, I love the kids, I love you, and I love the experience of sharing. So thank you so much for being here and have a wonderful, beautiful, amazing day. Talk soon.